Hello, I'm Martha Leonard, paperback editor at Doubleday Canada, and it's my pleasure today to interview Natalie MacLean, one of our most popular authors, a wine writer. Her second book, Unquenchable, is just being published in paperback, and we're going to talk today a little bit about the book and a little bit about her new material on book pairings with wine. Hi,
Hi,
Natalie.
Martha. Hi, how are you?
Well, thanks. How are you?
I'm great.
Good, good. So it's been quite a year for you since Unquenchable was first published.
Mhm.
You it was named one of Amazon's best books of the year. You had great reviews in the Globe and Mail in Canada and in the Washington Post in the US. You did a massive tour across the country and had media from every outlet possible.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed meeting other people who love wine and words. I think it is the perfect pairing, bringing together books and bottles, if you will.
Indeed. And I hear you maybe even got a marriage proposal?
I did, I did. That was quite surprising. Although I'm sorry to say, I just don't think it's going to work out, Martha. He lives on a submarine, and so it's just way too much humidity for wine storage. We could never build a cellar together.
That's a real shame. But some things do go well together. Food and wine?
Exactly. Well, I thought about that for the extra chapter, but really, food and wine is just so 2011. I mean, mobile apps, pairing widgets, blog posts, books even. I mean, I just have to ask, when will this madness stop? And so, I was thinking through it, and I realized that, it's probably just a marketing gimmick to drive, soaring website traffic. But those of us who are the true defenders of justice and good wine for all can see it for what it is, Martha. These are just charlatans who are setting themselves up as experts to mesmerize wine consumers into becoming codependents. Those poor little lambs, they just don't realize. They don't even see it. It makes me so cross. I need a drink. Sorry, keep going.
No, no, that's important. But tell me a little bit about pairing books with wine. When did you first come up with the idea?
Well, this goes back to my student days at Oxford. And my professor there was Jonathan Wordsworth, descendant, and he used to keep a bottle of sherry behind some books in his study. And oddly enough, every time I was to read aloud one of my essays to him, he brought out the bottle and poured himself a very big glass of that wine. So, based on those happy, carefree days of erudition, the two became forever entwined in my mind. And so, even to this day, I look for the subtext of wine, the wine behind the wine, or behind the books, if you will.
That's fantastic. And when did you think that this would be good for new material for the book?
Well, that was based on all the feedback I got while I was on the book tour. People told me again and again how much they loved the wine and book pairings at the end of each chapter. Many of them said they were using those suggestions for their book club gatherings, which, as we all know, are more about the wine than the books. Half the people who show up at those things have not read the book, but they all have the wine. So then it dawned on me, this is a vast, unexplored field of inquiry and research in the world of wine. And so that's when I decided to make the extra chapter all about wine and book pairings, starting with my top 20 all-Canadian pairings, books and bottles.
I love it. And I've had the privilege of seeing the new material already, but other people haven't. Can you give them a sneak peek at a couple of examples?
I certainly can. Okay, I'm going to read from the text if you don't mind. All right, let's start with Mean Boy by Lynn Cody. Now, I debated pairing this wine, Martha, with a California wine called Fat Bastard, but then I thought, nah, that's too easy. So instead, I want to pair this book with Black Hills Nota Bene, love the Latin. And it is a Cabernet blend from the Okanagan Valley, and it is a wine that you should take note of. It's a big black bruiser of a red, and so it's perfect with like a heavy hitter kind of book like Mean Boy. That'd be my
That's,
first one.
I like it.
Thank
How about
you.
another one?
Well, there's Lyndon McIntyre's book, The Bishop's Man. Again, there's a BC wine for this one that's perfect. It's called Blasted Church. But for his award-winning Causeway, A Passage from Innocence, that's his nonfiction account of building Nova Scotia's Canso Causeway, I'd suggest Benjamin Bridge Nova 7. And that's because this is a lovely sipper with a touch of spritz to it. It reminds me of crossing or walking across the Canso Causeway on a windy day as the ocean whips up from the Whitecaps.
Oh, it's fantastic. And maybe one more? How about an Ontario
Sure,
selection?
absolutely. Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I mean, do we have a more brilliantly gloomy writer in this country? I don't think so, no. But I love Margaret Atwood's Victorian style thriller about a 16-year-old Canadian housekeeper named Grace Marks, who in 1843 was convicted for the murder of her employer and his lover. You know, a lot of Atwood's books, as you know, Martha, have very strong central women characters.
Mhm.
So, in the spirit of that, I'd suggest Southbrook Vineyards Triomphe Cabernet Franc, I should say, a gloriously rich red from Niagara made by one of our most talented winemakers in this country, Anne Sperling.
Oh, wonderful. I think you've given us a lot to think about and a lot to, consider in terms of how we plan our book clubs and our enjoyment of wine. What do you think your next area of pairing will be?
Well, I was thinking about that, and I toyed with fly fishing and zesty whites or motorcycle maintenance and robust reds, but then I realized, pairing wine and books is a vast field of research, and it'll probably take decades to cover it. So I've decided to dedicate my life to this field, much in the spirit of Madame Curie and radium, or Jane Goodall and the chimpanzees.
I love it.
My liver
That's
for the people.
that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Natalie. This has been a great chat.
Well,
Best of
thanks,
luck
Martha.
to
Well,
the
cheers
paper
to you.
and to you.
All right, you take care.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.